China has plans to become the world's leading superpower by 2049, but a new missile for America's carrier jets is about to turn Xi Jinping's China dream into a nightmare. How close is China to a catastrophic downfall? Could this new missile be the key to unraveling Beijing's ambitions and bringing an end to its rise? What does this weapon mean for the fragile balance of power in the Indo-Pacific, and is China on the brink of losing it all? Prepare to uncover the story behind this ingenious innovation that could alter the course of global power. China has certainly made strides in its military capabilities over the last 2 decades, transitioning from what was once considered a military backwater with outdated equipment and a poor performance record, particularly after its experience in the Sino-Vietnamese War of 1979. But is it enough to fully match the power and technological sophistication of the United States? Hardly. The US is increasingly adept at disrupting these, ensuring its carriers and other assets remain a potent force in the region. China's geographical proximity to potential conflict zones may seem advantageous, but these also make its forces vulnerable to rapid US counterstrikes. While any military confrontation would undoubtedly be challenging and costly, the United States' superior technology, strategic alliances, and innovative capabilities, such as the development of the new AIM-174B missile, ensure it remains well-positioned to counter any Chinese aggression. And this is just the beginning. The US has another big advantage against China's missile threat: its fleet of nuclear submarines. China, in a bold attempt to challenge this, is developing its own undersea predators, but the question remains, can they truly rival America's might? China's new submarine models, the Type 095 and 096, are set to emerge in the early 2030s, designed to be quieter and more elusive, potentially shaking US dominance beneath the waves. Yet despite these efforts, the United States remains not just a step, but a league ahead. With a battle-hardened submarine fleet that has no equal, the US Navy continues to dominate the depths with unmatched stealth and deadly precision, ready to neutralize any threat and maintain its iron grip on undersea warfare. China's efforts to lead the hypersonic missile race, including the development of the PL-17 missile, represent another attempt to challenge US air superiority. The PL-17 is an air-launched missile carried by fighter jets. China claims that the munition has a dual-pulse solid rocket motor that combines with a lofted trajectory, and that these features could ensure it hits targets 250 miles away. However, these new Chinese weapons have a weakness. They rely on a series of steps to find and engage their targets. The Pentagon calls this sequence a weapon's kill chain. The kill chain for a basic weapon like a 155mm artillery shell is fairly simple. A simple, dumb artillery shell need only be set to its desired location by a gunner and then shot. Unless the shell is stopped from being sent forward by counter-battery fire, there isn't much that can disrupt it. Even if the shell winds up being a dud on impact, it might still explode later if set off, essentially becoming an unintended landmine. This is a weapon with a short kill chain. But dumb shells are inaccurate, and ammunition depletion has meant that Russian gunners have been forced to change their tactics in Ukraine. In 2023, Russian artillery units started to trend away from their previous World War II-style saturation fire approach. Instead, they began to prefer Krasnopol laser-guided artillery rounds. The tactics have worked, but there is a weakness. These rounds require laser designators to accurately hit their target, which means they have a more complicated kill chain than their dumb counterparts. Take out the laser designators and the Krasnopol shell reverts to a much more expensive dumb round. A long-range guided missile like the PL-17 has a still more complicated and expensive kill chain. The PL-17 most likely has an active and passive radar guidance system. Passive sensors will be used to detect radar emissions from enemy aircraft, especially AWACS aircraft. The passive sensor is likely combined with target location updates from off-board sensors coming from friendly AWACS aircrafts, ships, or command and control stations during most of the missile's flight path. This guidance ensures the missile keeps flying in the proper direction. It also prevents the target from detecting its presence. Finally, the PL-17 has an active seeker for the final phase of the attack path to hone in on and destroy the target. But if one thing in that sequence goes wrong, the system is knocked out of alignment. If the passive sensor fails, the missile will not be able to find a target. If the active seeker fails, it cannot lock on for the final flight path. If the off-board sensors go down, the missile becomes less accurate and more detectable. Designated targets can take countermeasures from there. The PL-17 is a stark reminder that today's smart weapons are only as strong as the intricate kill chains they depend on, a reality the United States has not only recognized but mastered. But the United States is also hyped on getting involved in the kill chain disruption game, and recent sightings of FA-18 Super Hornets have revealed them carrying a peculiar weapon. During the 2024 Rim of Pacific RIMPAC exercise, Hawaii-based Super Hornets from the Strike Fighter Squadron 192, based aboard the USS Carl Vinson, were spotted sporting an unusual pair of missiles. Photos revealed that they had blue bands painted on them, indicating that they were not armed with an explosive warhead or live motor. It was their shape that made them so distinguishable. They appeared like aircraft-delivered versions of the SM-6 missile. Raytheon manufactures this missile. It entered service on the US Navy's cruisers and destroyers in 2013 and is designed to be a multi-domain projectile capable of anti-air, anti-ship, and missile defense missions. It has a range of 230 miles and a speed of about Mach 3. The Pentagon has also admitted that the SM-6 has a counter-hypersonic capability. The SM-6 has a solid rocket booster and dual-thrust rocket. It combines these with the nose cone and seeker of the AIM-120 AMRAAM. The AIM-120 seeker gives the SM-6 numerous advantages. The AMRAAM operates in the X-band of radar, which means it has higher resolution than shipboard spy radars. However, because the SM-6 has a larger airframe than the AMRAAM, it can host a larger seeker. The SM-6's active terminal seeker also provides a number of advantages. Most importantly, it can engage targets beyond the range of its host ship's radars. Since these are limited by the ship's power output and the Earth's curvature, the SM-6 gives the US Navy's ships longer reach. The SM-6 is networked with other systems. Other platforms like the Aegis-equipped ships or AWACS aircraft can provide it with remote targeting that's not part of the missile's original launch platform or its onboard sensors. This attribute makes the missile part of the US Navy's Naval Integrated Fire Control Counter-Air Network. For example, a ship can launch the SM-6, an AWACS or F-35 can then guide the missile to a high-value target. These attributes mean the missile is not limited to the sensors of its launch platform or its onboard seekers. The only limitation is its own mechanical qualities. Now, the Navy has adapted the SM-6 for an air-launched role. The new variant is called the AIM-174B. The Navy said in an email to Flight Global that this missile is already operationally deployed. In other words, it's ready for combat. And just like that, the United States now has the world's confirmed longest-range air-launched missile. Its range is 3 times longer than the AMRAAM, longer than China's PL-15, and at least comparable to the PL-17. The AIM-174B's advantage extends beyond its long range. The war in Ukraine has shown how much ammunition matters in a conflict and how fast it can be depleted in high-intensity combat. Getting production lines ready for the AIM-260 is one of the reasons why the new missile will not be deployed in large numbers for the next few years. In contrast, the SM-6 has been in service for over a decade. There is already industrial capacity in place to build and distribute it. The brass at the Pentagon may have gotten the idea to adapt this weapon for airborne launch by watching the Ukrainians, who have made a habit of combining weapon systems and delivery platforms in ways no one expected. For example, shoulder-fired Stinger missiles made some waves early in the war when Ukrainian operators used them to shoot down Russian helicopters. Videos of these occurrences spread quickly on social media. However, Ukrainian troops have since adapted the Stinger to a missile defense role. They've used it to shoot down some of the Russian KH-101 cruise missiles, which have done so much damage to their cities. The KH-101 is a subsonic cruise missile designed to fly low in an attempt to evade traditional enemy air defenses. However, these attributes made it a conceivable target for the Stinger. Although it had never been used in the role before, Ukrainian operators proved it was possible. Maybe even more unusually, Ukrainian operators have integrated American Sea Sparrow missiles, designed to protect ships, with their Soviet-era Buk air defense systems. These two systems should have been incompatible, yet the Ukrainians have used them in conjunction to defend against Russian airstrikes. The new combination has gotten the nickname Frankensam. The Ukrainians have proven that seemingly inoperable systems can be used together. With this knowledge, the United States may have been eager to try the same thing as the stakes in the Indo-Pacific region got higher. The air-launched version of the SM-6 would fall into an emerging category of weapon, the quasi-ballistic missile. Traditional ballistic missiles are launched on a high arc and then descend at a steep angle. These arcs give the biggest ones intercontinental ranges. Quasi-ballistic missiles, on the other hand, have shorter range but are more unpredictable and harder for existing missile defense systems to counter. They follow a ballistic trajectory at launch but can change their paths in flight. This makes them ideal weapons for going after high-value targets in tactical situations. The SM-6 and its newer siblings are not as capable in an anti-ship role as the Harpoon because its warhead is a lot smaller, 64 kilograms to the Harpoon's 200. However, the Center for Strategic and International Studies notes that its range makes it ideal for a mission-kill capability. Hardened ships might be able to withstand a hit from a 64-kilogram warhead, but a precise strike can destroy critical systems and make the ship inoperable for the duration of a mission. The target might still be afloat, but it will be useless in battle if these critical functions are disabled. The high-resolution seeker in the SM-6 and its new derivatives makes it valuable in potentially destroying or disabling PLAN vessels from long range and their kill chain contributions with them. Perhaps more importantly, the United States now has the same option to destroy China's AWACS aircraft. The AIM-174B also potentially gives the United States the ability to hit vital targets in Chinese territory, such as command and control stations. Here's how that would work. An F-35 can take off from a base in Japan or the Philippines. The F-35's stealth qualities ensure that it can fly closer to Chinese territory than other platforms. At the same time, an F/A-18 Super Hornet armed with the AIM-174B takes off from a carrier parked outside of the first island chain, where it's safer from the Chinese missile threat. The Super Hornet then gets as close to Chinese territory as it safely can and launches the missile. The F-35 then takes over and uses its radar to guide the missile to critical targets that control a number of systems, like the large arsenal of missiles that sit at the center of China's A2AD strategy. The missile hits and the systems go down, making it safer for other assets to conduct operations deeper in the A2AD zone. China might still have most of its missiles, but it has less ability to use them. Disrupting an enemy's kill chain ensures that many of the expensive weapon systems that rely on it are useless. The AIM-174B's development is not surprising. In the mid-2010s, the United States developed a counter-A2AD approach called the Third Offset Strategy, which found its way into the 2018 National Defense Strategy. The 2018 NDS was influential in shaping future, great power competition-based security policy in Washington. The central premise of the Third Offset Strategy is to ensure that the United States can blunt the impact of A2AD technologies and continue to project power into the zone these technologies are supposed to cover. For example, the seas and skies of the first island chain would be the area where a conflict would take place between the United States and China. This means the US would need to fight thousands of miles away from its homeland, while China has the benefit of being close to its territory under the protective umbrella provided by its missile stockpile. However, if the United States disrupts the kill chain those missiles rely on, it would prevent its casualties from ballooning too much while making reinforcement and resupply easier. The United States military would therefore confidently move inside the A2AD area, while China's power becomes more contained. The AIM-174B's range and versatility makes it an important tool for the United States to carry out this strategy. So far, the missile has only been spotted on the F/A-18 Super Hornet. It's not known if other aircraft, like the F-35, will be capable of carrying it. Since it was designed for use on a ship, it might be too large, at a length of 6.55 meters, to fit into the Lightning II's internal weapons bay. This is about twice the length of the AMRAAM, for example. The F-35 might not be able to carry this weapon internally, which would compromise its stealth profile. However, it does seem likely that land-based fighters like the F-15EX, the so-called missile truck, and F-16 will carry it soon too. The AIM-174B's arrival also now leaves the possibility open that the United States' coming 6th-generation fighters, the NGAD and the F/A-XX, will be designed to carry the AIM-174B and others like it while maintaining their stealth profiles, enabling an even more powerful anti-kill chain platform. Despite its progress in the last 25 years, China still cannot engage the United States military in a head-to-head confrontation. To increase its influence in the region, China relies on its geographical advantage and technologies that would fortify that advantage. However, every technology has constituent parts that need to function in order for it to fulfill its mission. The AIM-174B represents a significant step forward for the United States in disrupting the kill chain China needs to effectively maintain its A2AD zone. The war in Ukraine again provides a preview of what the United States may be aiming for with the AIM-174B and weapons like it. After unilaterally annexing it in 2014, Russia heavily fortified Crimea with air defense systems, radars, and routine patrols from AWACS aircraft and ships from the Russian Navy. Aside from the Korean DMZ, it was arguably the most heavily fortified area in the world. However, Ukraine has targeted these kill chain constituents with strikes from missiles, drones, and special operations teams, notably destroying 2 of Russia's A-50 AWACS aircraft and heavily damaging a third in the early part of the year. The result is that Russia's grip on Crimea has steadily loosened, and Ukraine has conducted more and more daring operations on the peninsula, which is the linchpin of Russia's invasion. The United States has been studying Ukraine's operations and hopes that the AIM-174B will be able to do something similar in the event that conflict broke out in the Indo-Pacific. With each successful use and destruction of a high-value kill chain asset, its forces can move more boldly into China's weakening A2AD zone. Countering an invasion of Taiwan, for example, would be costly under current conditions. Destroying China's AWACS aircraft, command centers, and surface vessels would reduce its effective firepower and allow the United States to more confidently use its air and sea power in combined operations to throw the invasion back across the strait. Toward the end of the 20th century, war planners hoped to save ammunition by developing more accurate weapons, effective at longer ranges. They succeeded in their goal, but opened a new vulnerability by introducing complicated supply chains and kill chains into the equation. In future conflicts, the most important race may not be who can strike accurately first, but who can prevent the enemy from doing so by disrupting the kill chain. The advent of the AIM-174B shows that this is a race the United States is determined not to fall behind in. With innovation, it's found new uses in older weapons. What do you think about the AIM-174B? How will it affect the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region? Don't forget to let us know in the comments. Also, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to support the channel and for more military analysis from military experts. Now go and check out Japan Shocks China by revealing 5 never-before-seen weapons, or click this other video instead.